The verdict on the SEBI and the Enam case is out. So SEBI, this is an alert of course, but the SAT upholds Enam Securities' plea against SEBI, which means that Enam in all probability will not be penalized. Remember, what they were talking about is that Enam was saying that the Yes Bank IPO that was done in all fairness. There was no violation of any kind of norm from their end, which SEBI was saying that there was because of Rabobank's holding in Yes Bank, whether as a promoter or as a non-promoter. That was essentially the big tussle, and from what we figured out, SAT has upheld Enam Securities' plea against SEBI. I dare say this would probably work out well for Axis Bank as well, because otherwise there could have been a bit of a setback in today's buoyant market mood. But that won't happen in today's trade. So Axis Bank is up 3.5% in trade. Yes Bank should also be pulled up on the screen. Not that it really per se gets impacted too much, but Yes Bank as well is up 3.5%. Just no corrections out there coming in. Ashwin Mohan, who spoke about the story earlier, joins us right now with fresh updates. Ashwin, tell us.
That's right, Neeraj. This is definitely a big relief coming in, a big legal relief coming in for Enam Securities, because the SEBI order had in fact pressed certain serious charges against them. The SEBI had in fact as later penalized Enam Securities, and the penalty was imposed for alleged inadequate due diligence as far as Enam Securities' role in the Yes Bank IPO is concerned. There were also certain questions raised by SEBI regarding alleged negligence by Enam Securities. Now, Enam challenged the SEBI order at SAT, which is a Securities Appellate Tribunal, and today SAT has upheld Enam's plea, and it has dismissed the SEBI order and has set aside the SEBI order. So therefore, this coming in as a big bit of legal relief for Enam Securities. In fact, the fine print of the order is not available as yet, because we are still waiting to see whether or not the order sets down certain guidelines for merchant bankers when it comes to handling IPOs. But yes, for starters, SEBI has only one route to go to right now. They can challenge this order at the Supreme Court. But for the moment, a big win for Enam Securities at the Securities Appellate Tribunal.
Right. This has, of course, would have had a bit of a sentimental impact, Ashwin, you think, on the Enam-Axis deal, if at all, if the order would have gone against Enam? Was that also something that was an area of contention?
That, to be honest, wasn't an area of contention, because there is still a little bit of clarity which remains to be thrown by the RBI and the regulators as far as a full and final clearance of the Enam-Axis Bank deal is concerned. But definitely for Enam Securities as an underwriter, and for Enam Securities as a merchant banker which handles IPOs, this definitely clears their name, because there were a lot of serious allegations, as I pointed out, as to how they performed their role as a merchant banker when it came to the Yes Bank IPO. In fact, one of the major allegations that was brought up by SEBI as a market regulator was that Enam had not disclosed the name of Rabobank as a promoter in the prospectus of the Yes Bank IPO. And Enam, on the other hand, had vociferously argued that there was no need to mention the name of Rabobank as a promoter, because Rabobank had merely funded the promoters of Yes Bank. So clearly Enam's stance stands vindicated. But one interesting point which goes beyond Enam's victory is to see what kind of guidelines are laid down in the detailed fine print of the order, which we are expecting a little later in the evening. That will be interesting, because this will then serve as a test case for the merchant banking community as a whole, and could also lay down certain precedents for handling of future IPOs. So that's the more important point which we need to look at. But for those fine prints, we need to wait for the detailed order a little later in the day.
Well, two stocks which are clearly reacting to this bit of news, Yes Bank and Axis Bank. There's been a bit of a pickup in Axis Bank as well, now closing into a 4% gain. That would be just a sentimental impact, given that there's, of course, that deal with Enam. But Yes Bank and, given the momentum of the market, you're seeing a bit of a pickup there as well, 370 for the stock on the charts. Purely, and not related to this deal, Vijay, a call on Yes Bank and Axis Bank?
Axis Bank is something that I am bullish on, and I think the stock is likely to basically see some amount of mild resistance at 1150 levels, which it has overcome. Now 1150 will become the de facto support. As long as the bulls manage to keep the stock defended well above the 1150, my guess is it's going to 1190, 1200 levels. As far as Yes Bank is concerned, that's also been showing signs of bullishness. And now the support level is very clearly at the 345 levels. As long as it remains above 345, I think the stock is likely to head towards the 385, 390 mark.
Ashwin, the other bit would be about how some entities which may have a majority shareholding in the company but would not be disclosed as promoters if indeed as and when DRHPs are filed. Could this also serve as a benchmark of sorts for some issues that will come up later on over the course of the next few years?
Definitely, Neeraj. In fact, the main point or the moot point of contention in this entire case between Enam Securities and SEBI was how do you determine who's a promoter and under what circumstances does an entity be classified as a promoter, and therefore what kind of responsibility is conferred upon the merchant banker. Now, in this particular case, Enam Securities had argued before the Securities Appellate Tribunal that if the market regulator SEBI did indeed have a problem with the non-disclosure of Rabobank, why did SEBI not take any action against Yes Bank in the past so many years? So therefore, you're right, this will in fact set some sort of a precedent because it will also determine how a merchant banker in future has to classify who a promoter is, and after classifying who a promoter is, whether or not the name should figure in the IPO prospectus. So these are certain key takeaways. But as of now, we still are seeing the fine print of the order. It's just a two-line judgment that has been pronounced by SAT saying that they have set aside the order.
Sure, yeah. Ashwin, stay on because we do have Enam's counsel with us. Somashekar Sundaresan joins us right now. So, congratulations, and it's pretty much shaped up the way you were hoping it would.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm saying congratulations on the order. It's shaped up just the way you were hoping it would.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it was a very important order for all the merchant banking community because there is a different line between what is due diligence and what is a legal interpretation. And we are glad that the legal system has worked and we have full faith in the system.
Do you have more details about the order? The only flash that we have at this point in time, Mr. Sundaresan, is the fact that the SAT has upheld Enam Securities' plea against SEBI, but are there any details within that on what has been laid out as guidelines for proceedings in the future for merchant bankers, essentially?
Yeah, I think we'll have to wait to see the full order. The order has just been pronounced minutes ago and we've just stepped out when you called me. So we'll have to read the details of the order to know what has been analyzed. We'll know shortly when we get.
What were the arguments that you had presented and what was the key contention that you had once the fine and the charge was made by SEBI that you defended in SAT?
The key issue is what constitutes due diligence and when is it that a merchant banker can be said to have not exercised due diligence, because any and every mistake that's found subsequently, or even if something is not a mistake, every bona fide decision that a regulator may disagree with cannot constitute lack of due diligence. So that was the key thrust of what we said. We'll have to wait and see what the order says and what it elaborates.
Okay, so just one final word really. Would you go as far as saying that maybe this serves as a benchmark of sorts for future issues wherein merchant bankers would have a clear guideline of who to be disclosed as promoters and who not to be?
Let us all wait and read the order. We don't know yet. Let's read the order and we'll know.
Sure. We'll touch base again then, Soma. Thanks and congratulations on the order.
Thank you.
That's the verdict on Enam, SEBI versus the Enam case in favor of Enam. Ashwin, thanks a lot for joining us and getting us that update as well.